Hello, my name is Allison Withers, and I'm here to talk to you about my client, Susan. Now, Susan is a 50-year-old lesbian who is in a long-term relationship with her partner, Grace. She doesn't report to have any to be a religious person, but she's extremely close with nature. So I think that makes her a spiritual person. She doesn't have any children with Grace, but she does have several nieces and nephews. She's particularly close to her nephew Graham. She is a huge human's right activist. She's part of the LGBTQ community. She believes in feminism, specifically socialist feminism. And one of the issues that Susan came to me about is that her long-term care, her long-term partner is in a long-term care facility, and she's having issues financing that. In addition to, she's struggling with the decision-making part of all of the financing and the decisions on the care of Grace. So 3 of the questions that I answered for this assignment were, pulling them up. It says, what skills did I learn from this class that I used to prepare for seeing my client? And I said that I have learned many skills in this class to help me prepare for the interview with the client, Susan. Some of these skills are just simply preparedness. I made sure that I went over all the proper materials, charts, diagrams, before engaging in the conversation with her. I learned how to express empathy more thoroughly and in the proper way. And then this public speaking. So another question that I answered was, it says, give a brief overview of how you applied the generalist intervention model, GIM, with your client. And I said, I use GIM to identify the problems, contract out solutions, and schedule a follow-up to see what the progress was in our case. My client isn't ready for termination of services yet, though, which is the final step of the model. The third question that I answered was, how did one human behavior theory inform your understanding of your client? And for this one, I chose the humanistic behavior theory. It influenced this case for me because humanistic theory is all about your perception of life and being. And for Susan, she, is going to start to learn new skills that's going to influence how she sees herself and her environment. So I chose this particular theory. The last question that I answered was, is there anything that you wish that you had done differently with your client? And yes, because during our interview, we did not get to touch on all the issues that she actually had. And we focused more on the financing part of her, financing the care of her partner, instead of, we briefly touched on her depression and her lack of skill making, or her lack of decision making. But we didn't get to touch on her employment. We didn't get to touch on a few other things. And so I would have liked to have went more in depth on those so that we could have built a larger SMART goals assessment in addition to working out more of those issues. But thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful night.